Hello everyone, welcome back to some Year 13 Microeconomics on TJA Economics, where today we're going to be looking at the law of diminishing marginal returns, some really technical theory of the firm analysis going on here. So what is the law of diminishing marginal returns? Well, falling marginal productivity in the short run that comes due to adding variable factors of production to a fixed quantity of other factors of production. So let's get into it. The short run then. What is the short run? The short run is the period of time in which at least one factor of production is fixed for a firm. For example, we have a farm here, and we may find that our land, i.e. the fields, the trees, anything natural, and the capital, the tractors and the windmills, are fixed. It's the period of time in which I cannot add any fixed factors, land or capital. However, we may be able to add labour. So, for example, I may be able to hire another farmer. I may be able to hire another farmhand or two. And so in the short run, I can add labour, but I can't add capital or land. That is the short run because at least one factor is fixed. In this case, land and capital. So why on earth does this matter? Well, looking at diminishing marginal returns is important because it leads us to ask the question, will every additional unit of input used, labour normally, increase total output or product by the same amount each time? Think back to that farm on the previous section. Will each additional unit of labour added increase the output of the farm by the same amount? Because if not, that then has implications for firms in their output, production and input decisions. So imagine a kitchen, for example, this kitchen here. And in this kitchen, there are 6 jobs that could be doing. Chopping veg and meat, grilling meat on the hob, cooking veg in the oven, making sauce in a saucepan, putting it all together, and then giving it to the waiter. So there are 6 jobs that needs doing. That first chef that I hire has to do all 6 jobs by themselves. So all 6 jobs. He's going to help with output, but it's not going to be a huge amount. But if I hire a second chef, suddenly they're only doing 3 jobs each, not 6. I hire a third chef. You can see they're each going to get more productive and total output is going to increase quickly, right? Because they're not having to do 6 jobs each. They may be only doing 2. And if I were to hire 6 chefs in total, they could each specialise in 1 job each. So, for example, 1 chef can specialise in chopping vegetables and meat. 1 chef can specialise in grilling meat. 1 on making sauce, and so on. And so that specialisation would mean that their individual productivity goes up, and indeed, the capital in that kitchen gets used more efficiently. And so, initially at least, the more labour I hire, the more productivity goes up. But, and there is a big but, what would happen if we added a 7th chef? What about an 8th, a 9th, a 10th? What would happen if we kept adding chefs? Well, think about it. To begin with, as we said, each additional chef helps because they specialise and they get to use previously unused capital. And so by adding more workers, to begin with, the marginal product, how much each chef adds, goes up. But as we said, after a certain point, when we hire that 7th chef or that 8th chef, each additional chef just gets in the way. And so overall productivity in the kitchen might actually fall. They'll add to the total product, i.e. output will increase, but the amount added by each individual chef starts to fall. And think about it, if we were to hire a 10th, an 11th, a 12th chef, eventually we might find that there are so many chefs in the kitchen that actually total output begins to fall, i.e. it is so busy and so crammed full of chefs that they're just really, really getting in each other's way, and they can't actually produce as much as they would if they had fewer chefs. Let's look at it this way. You can see I've got fixed units of capital. I've only got 6 machines in the kitchen, whereas I can add as much labour as I want. And so we can look at total product. You can see it rises quite quickly to begin with, slows down, peaks at 7, and then falls after that. That means, therefore, that the marginal product rises quite quickly, 1, 3, 8, 12, 16, 20. Peaks at 6, as we said, there are 6 machines, so it would make sense for it to be most marginally productive where there are 6 chefs being added. But then after that, as we said, it's getting crammed. That 7th chef They add a little bit to total product, but not much, because there's not a specific job for them. There's not a specific bit of capital they can use. And that 8th, 9th, and look at that 10th chef. That 10th chef, when we add him in, he's really not helping. In fact, he's getting so in the way, he is useless. He's taking away from total product. Indeed, look at the average product. Average product, i.e. how much is each worker making on average, is best when there are 6 units of labour. And so if we show this on a diagram, it starts to demonstrate this impact. So we've got output and quantity of workers. In red there, I've got average product. You can see it's a very nice up-down sort of bell curve. But then here I've got marginal product in green. And what do you notice? We can see that marginal product peaks very quickly and then falls off, we can see. And so it's important as well. Marginal product has to cross average product at that very peak. But we can do something quite interesting with this diagram. If we look, for example, the point at which marginal product is 0 is also the point at which total product is maximised. For example, if we go back to our table, we can see when marginal product crosses into 0 between 7 and 8 workers, that's when total product is maximised at 63. And so that proves in here diagrammatically as well. When marginal product is 0, that's when total product is maximised. But we can do something even more interesting. If we take this diagram, we can split the marginal product curve into 2 sections. This green section and that red section. Sections A and B, let's call it. So, in section A, we actually see increasing marginal returns because each additional worker results in more and more output being added than the last. But after this point, as we said, they start to get in each other's way. They start to actually hinder each other. And so in area B, we see diminishing marginal returns. The marginal returns fall off because each additional worker added results in less output being added than the last. Like we said, they get in each other's way. They're causing inefficiencies. They're causing a lack of productivity. And so, why does this happen? What's the chain of reasoning? Well, in the short run, firms will have at least one fixed factor of production, with others being variable. Because of this, adding labour is usually the only way firms can increase output in the short run. When additional units of labour are added, total output will initially increase, quite quickly indeed, as each additional worker will increase productivity. As we said, that second, that third chef, right up to 6. This means that marginal returns, the amount added by each individual worker, will begin to rise. But eventually, each worker will add less and less and less, and average returns will fall. As we said, once we get past 6, it just doesn't help. At this point, the point at which marginal returns start to fall, we can say that diminishing marginal returns have set in. So after the 6th chef in my kitchen, that is where diminishing marginal returns have set in, because each additional chef added actually makes the kitchen less productive on average. So, a summary. To begin with, each additional worker helps by allowing everyone to specialise and by using previously unused capital. This means that by adding more workers, marginal product will rise to begin with. After a certain point though, each additional worker simply gets in the way and starts to reduce productivity. They'll add to total product, but their marginal product will fall, and average product may eventually fall too. Eventually, if we keep going and keep adding more workers, we might even find that eventually marginal product becomes negative and they start to take away from total product. Like I say, that 12th chef really isn't going to help and will actually take away. So, if you've enjoyed today's video, please do like and subscribe here on YouTube. Do follow me on Instagram, also follow me on Twitter or X, and do hang around for more videos coming soon on A-Level, IB and GCSE economics. Thank you very much.